You bought the bananas on Friday. It's Tuesday now, and the bunch on the counter isn't the bunch you carried in. 2 of them have gone soft and freckled, 1 is still firm, and nobody in the house has touched them. Here's the part nobody explains. How ripe it is affects your blood sugar, and it does that without anybody adding anything to the fruit. Nothing came in through the skin. No sugar was poured in overnight. Something already inside that banana got taken apart while it sat there, and once it's taken apart, your body gets to it faster. One simple idea, and it changes the answer on a lot more than bananas. 10 foods, counting down. On 5 of them, how ripe it is genuinely moves the number. The other 5 don't follow that rule at all. 3 of those barely move however long you leave them alone, and 2 run the whole thing backwards, which I didn't expect either. And at the end, there's one thing you can do tonight, in about 10 seconds, that costs nothing and stops the clock exactly where it is. What ripening actually does. Before a banana ripens, somewhere between 15 and 35% of the pulp is starch. Starch is just sugar molecules chained together, hundreds of them at a time, packed too tightly for your digestion to get at in a hurry. As the fruit ripens, it takes those chains apart. By the time the skin is freckled, that same banana is down to about 1% starch. The sugar freed out of those chains can reach 1/5 of the weight of the pulp. Frontiers in plant science walked through that whole sequence in 2019. The important half is the one nobody says out loud. Nothing came in. The fruit didn't bring sugar in from anywhere while it sat on your counter. It unpacked what it was already carrying. Unlocked, not added. But the total barely moves. The Food and Drug Administration puts a medium banana at 30 grams of carbohydrate. Firm or freckled, 30 is roughly 30. What changes is how fast those grams reach you. The shorthand for that is the glycemic index, a score out of 100 that ranks a food against pure glucose for the speed of the rise it produces, so higher means faster. It's a useful number and a rough one, measured in small groups, eating portions larger than anybody actually eats. And it only moves on part of this list, because only part of this list is still ripening in your kitchen. Number 10. Oranges and citrus. Leave them in the bowl a few days. They'll sweeten up. I've heard that my whole life. For oranges, it isn't true. Fruit splits into 2 groups, and one of them keeps ripening after it's picked, driven by a rise in respiration and a burst of a gas called ethylene that the fruit makes itself. The other group stops the moment it leaves the plant. That's how the University of Maryland's Extension Service teaches growers to handle produce. Bananas, tomatoes, apples, mangoes, avocados, pears, papayas, peaches, and kiwi fruit sit in the first group. Every citrus fruit sits in the second, and so do the grapes in the bowl beside them, according to Iowa State's Extension Service. An orange left on the counter can still soften and lose a little of its acid, and that makes it taste sweeter to you. But tasting sweeter and being sweeter aren't the same thing. The starch-to-sugar engine you just heard about isn't running, because an orange never stored much starch to begin with. Whatever that orange was going to do to your blood sugar, it was already going to do it in the shop. That number doesn't move afterward. One medium orange, about 154 grams, carries 21 grams of carbohydrate, 7 of them fiber, and 14 of them sugars. Buy it, eat it whenever suits you, and give that shelf no further thought. How much does it actually move, then, on the ones still working? Number 9. Tomatoes. Sugar in a tomato nearly doubles between green and red, and the whole change is worth about 1.5 grams. Both halves are true, and you have to hold both of them at once. Scientific reports measured that rise in 2025 and put it as high as 94%, from mature green to full red. Underneath it is machinery you already know. Starch laid down early in the fruit's life gets broken into sucrose, and the sucrose gets broken into glucose and fructose. Researchers pinned that down in 1975 in the Journal of the Science of Food and Agriculture, and nothing since has overturned it. Then you look at what you're actually holding. One medium tomato, about 123 grams, carries under 5 grams of carbohydrate and under 3 grams of sugar. And that figure is the red tomato, after the climb, not before it. Take the 94% back off, and the green one was carrying about 1.5 grams, which makes the whole green to red journey worth about the same again. 1.5 grams is the number to keep. The percentage is only how it got measured. In the episode on vegetables that keep blood sugar steady, I told you to buy the red peppers over the green ones, because a red pepper is a green pepper left to ripen, and it's sweeter for it. That's still what I'd do, and it's the same arithmetic as this one, used for flavor instead of worry. Before the next one, go and look at your fruit bowl and put one word below this video. Is most of what's in it hard or soft? One word is all I need. Keep your own answer in mind too, because the next food on the list changes more in 3 days than anything else here, and almost none of that change is sugar. Number 8. Avocado. Here's a strange one. An avocado goes from something you could hammer a nail with to something you spread with a spoon, and it does it in about 3 days. No other food here changes that visibly, and almost none of that change is sugar. Start with what's actually in there. 1/5 of a medium avocado, 30 grams of it, carries 50 calories, 3 grams of carbohydrate, and 0 grams of sugars. Half an avocado, which is nearer to what anybody actually eats, comes to about 7 grams of carbohydrate, and still, essentially no sugar. Now the odd part, because most of an avocado's carbohydrate isn't the sugar you'd expect. It's 2 unusual sugars, called monoheptulose and persatol, built on 7 carbon atoms, instead of the usual 6, which almost no other fruit makes at all. A 2025 analysis in the journal Plants tracked all of them through ripening, and both of those 7 carbon sugars went down as the fruit softened. The ordinary ones, the glucose and fructose and sucrose, climbed the other way and still only reached about 5 milligrams per gram of dry weight, even when it was overripe. That is a rounding error. So the softening you feel under your thumb is cell walls coming apart, not sugar arriving. I'd buy avocados hard and let them come to me, and I'd do it for the texture, because for your blood sugar, the firm one and the soft one are the same food. Ripeness isn't the lever there either. What comes next is dinner for a great many people watching this, and there it genuinely counts. Number 7. Plantain. On plantain, the stage matters, and the pan matters just as much. Somebody put both to the test, feeding ripe and unripe plantain 3 different ways and measuring what happened. Unripe came out at 46 fried, 44 boiled, 46 roasted. Ripe came out at 56 fried, 54 boiled, 55 roasted. And that work ran in 2013 in the European Journal of Biology and Medical Science Research, a small study in a small journal, so hold the decimals loosely and keep the shape. Ripening cost about 10 points. Every one of the 6 still came in somewhere in the 40s or 50s against pure glucose at 100, and boiled unripe was the best of them. 10 points is real, and it's still smaller than the thing nobody mentions, which is how much ends up on the plate. 1 cup of cooked mashed plantain, about 200 grams, carries around 62 grams of carbohydrate, 28 of them sugars, and 5 of them fiber. That's 2 medium bananas worth of carbohydrate in 1 serving, before you've decided whether it was green or black. The American Diabetes Association files plantain with the starchy foods rather than the vegetables, alongside corn, peas, sweet potato, and pumpkin, and counts about 15 grams of carbohydrate to a serving. Carry that out of here if you carry nothing else, because for a lot of older adults, plantain is the dinner, not the side. Boil it green when you can. Then serve it as the starch on the plate, not as the vegetable beside the starch. Now hold that idea, starch quietly turning into sugar while the food sits. There's one thing in the supermarket doing it in reverse. Number 6. Sweet corn and peas. The moment an ear of sweet corn is snapped off the stalk, it starts turning its sugar into starch. Everything else in this video, played backwards. Mississippi State's Extension Service puts numbers on how fast. The sugar loss runs about 10 times quicker at 70 degrees Fahrenheit than at freezing. An ear left on a warm kitchen counter overnight really is less sweet in the morning, and it isn't your imagination. Breeders have fought this for decades. The super sweet varieties, the ones carrying a gene called shrunken 2, hold at least 4 times the sugar of field corn. They convert it far more slowly too, which is what the industry's own cold storage manual has been telling packers since 2008. And whichever day you cook it, 1 medium ear is about 19 grams of carbohydrate, roughly 6 of them sugar, and about 2 of them fiber. Corn is the one item here where nothing is getting unlocked. It's getting locked back up, and nobody has fed people a fresh ear and a day-old ear and measured the difference in their blood sugar. The direction of the conversion is well documented. The consequence for your number is not, and I'm not going to invent one for you. If you like corn sweet, buy it cold and cook it the same day. If you don't much care, nothing here changes anything you do. 5 down, 5 to go, and here is where that leaves you. Exactly one of them, the plantain, actually moved the number. The rest were settled before you got them home, or moved by less than 2 grams, or changed everything about themselves except their sugar. 4 of the 5 still to come are where it moves most. The 5th runs backwards as well, and that one caught me out. Number 5. Apple. It's July, and there's an apple in the crisper drawer. It's firm, it's cold, it looks exactly like an apple. It was picked last autumn. Growers don't guess at ripeness the way the rest of us do. They cut an apple in half, paint the cut face with iodine, and watch it stain. Iodine turns starch blue-black and leaves sugar clear, so the pattern is a map of how much starch has already turned. Penn State's Extension Service scores that map from 1 to 8. Apples heading into long cold storage get picked at about 3 or 4, still mostly starch. Apples going straight to the shop get picked at 6 or 7. So there really is a ruler for this, and the industry has been using it for decades while nobody handed you one. Inside the fruit, the conversion starts at the core and works outward, which is why an apple can be sweet in the middle and bland near the skin. Your July apple was picked earlier on that scale than the October one, off the same tree in the same orchard, precisely so it would still have somewhere to go. What it isn't is a different food. 1 medium apple, about 154 grams, is 22 grams of carbohydrate. 5 of those grams are fiber, and 16 are sugars. And nobody has measured an October apple against a July apple in a room full of people holding glucose meters. I'd still eat the July apple. I'd just stop expecting it to taste like October. Same fruit, further down the scale. The fruit nobody in the house will cut open is where the ripeness worry actually belongs, and it's next. It's the one item here with 16 people and a glucose meter behind it. Number 4. Papaya. A group of researchers finally ran the obvious experiment in 2025. They took 4 fruits, orange, mango, papaya, and sweet banana, at 2 stages, ripe and very ripe. Then they fed matched portions to 16 healthy adults, each portion carrying 50 grams of available carbohydrate, and measured what the blood sugar did. The results ran in Applied Food Research. Ripe versions scored between about 13 and 36 on the glycemic index. Very ripe versions of the same 4 fruits scored between about 29 and 58. Across that gap, total sugars in the fruit climbed from about 7% to about 16%, and the protein, the fat, and the fiber all fell. That last word deserves a second. Fiber falls as fruit over-ripens, and fiber is part of what was slowing the sugar down. So it isn't only that there's more sugar, there's less holding it back. Papaya is where the trade-off shows. The very ripe papayas in that study carried more flavonoids, polyphenols, and tannins, which are the plant compounds that get called antioxidants on packaging. The softer fruit scored worse on the sugar and better on those. Nothing on this list is purely a loss. 16 healthy adults, none of them older adults, eating 50-gram carbohydrate portions bigger than a normal serving. Real study, small one. 1 cup of papaya is about 16 grams of carbohydrate. You can still take the very soft one for what it carries, as long as you take rather less of it. Same trial, same 16 people, 1 more fruit. Number 3, mango. 1 of the 4 came out of that study with a number people flatly refused to believe. Ripe mango scored a glycemic index of 28.84. I'll say that as just under 29, because 2 decimal places on a figure measured in 16 people is precision nobody earned. Pure glucose sits at 100. Mango came in under 30. The very ripe version climbed, somewhere up inside that 29 to 58 range, and even then, it never became the emergency it has a reputation for being. Underneath, the machinery is the same as everything else here. Sucrose, glucose, and fructose all rise as a mango ripens. Sucrose in the largest amount, fructose doing most of the visible sweetening. Those measurements go back to 1985 in the Journal of the Science of Food and Agriculture. Earlier in the fruit's life, the balance sits the other way, more starch and more vitamin C, which the International Journal of Fruit Science reported in 2019. So where did mango's reputation come from? Not from the ripeness, from the bowl. 1 cup of diced mango, about 165 grams, is roughly 25 grams of carbohydrate. And nobody sits down to a cup of mango, they sit down to a mango, which is a good deal more than a cup. 1 cup, with something else on the plate. Ripe or very ripe, nothing else about a mango needs deciding. The next one is the only fruit here that gets the whole thing backwards on purpose. Number 2, dates. Every item so far has said the same thing underneath. Riper means faster. Dates say the opposite, out loud, with numbers. A date doesn't just soften, it passes through named stages, and in the Gulf, those names are a normal part of shopping. Kalal is the early one, firm and crunchy. Rutab is the middle one, soft at the tip. Tamer is the last, fully mature and dried down on the palm, which is the wrinkled date you know from a box. A team writing in Curious, in 2023, fed all 3 stages of 2 varieties to 13 healthy adults. Early crunchy Kalal dates had the highest glycemic index of the 3, at 69. Fully mature Tamer dates had the lowest, at 53. The index went down as the fruit finished ripening, which is the exact reverse of the banana. But the load did something else again. Glycemic load is that index adjusted for how much carbohydrate a serving actually holds, so it's the number closer to your kitchen. It peaked in the middle stage, at nearly 18 against under 10 for the crunchy ones. 13 people, and the spread between them was wide enough that I wouldn't bet on any single figure. What holds up is the direction. Sugar wasn't added to a date either, so the rule still stands. It's the same rule, running the other way. What doesn't wobble at all is the count. 1 pitted medjool date is about 24 grams of fruit and about 18 grams of carbohydrate. 2 of them carry more carbohydrate than a whole medium banana. Whatever stage they're at, dates are counted in ones, not in handfuls. There's 1 left, and it's the one you came here for. It's also the only food on this list where somebody ran a proper trial for 6 months and watched what happened. Number 1, bananas. Wait for the brown spots. That's when they're sweetest. True, and almost everybody hears it as the banana having gained sugar. It didn't. You'll find figures quoted everywhere that put a green banana near 30 on the glycemic index, and a freckled one somewhere in the 50s or low 60s. I'd treat that range as a fair description rather than a measurement, because it's pooled from a lot of places and doesn't trace back to one trial. This does. Researchers followed 113 middle-aged adults with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes for 24 weeks, and the British Journal of Nutrition carried the result in 2019. Half got nutritional support plus 40 grams a day of green banana biomass, which is unripe pulp cooked and mashed into a paste, not a green banana eaten off the counter. The other half got the diet alone. The biomass group came out with lower HbA1c, which is the figure that averages roughly 3 months of blood sugar into one number. Their fasting glucose was lower too, along with their blood pressure, their weight, and their waist, and they held more lean muscle. Now the half of that trial that usually gets left out. The diet-only group also lowered their HbA1c and their waist. Some of what happened there was the eating advice, not the banana. And any version of this you hear that leaves that out is selling you something. It's the mechanism you've had since the start of this video, seen from the other side. Starch chains that haven't been taken apart yet are chains your own enzymes can't take apart either. First, they slow how fast your stomach empties. Then a good share of them travels the length of your small intestine intact and gets handed on to the bacteria in your colon, instead of into your bloodstream. One last piece of arithmetic, and it ties the whole list together. A medium banana, 126 grams, carries 30 grams of carbohydrate and 19 grams of sugars when it's ripe. Green, it carries almost exactly the same 30 grams, with far less of it in a form you can absorb quickly. Unlocked, not added. The fruit never got bigger, it only got faster, which means there's a lever, and it's free. Bananas want to sit at about 55 to 58 degrees Fahrenheit. Below that, the University of California's post-harvest researchers describe what they call chilling injury. The peel browns, the color dulls, and in bad cases, the fruit stops ripening altogether. For a grower shipping fruit, that's damage. In your kitchen, it's the off switch. If you take insulin or a sulfonylurea, plenty of seniors watching this take insulin, or one of the older sulfonylurea pills like glipizide or glyburide. If that's you, this video changes something small and specific. The carbohydrate count doesn't move with ripeness, so the number you dose against stays where it was. The timing does move. The same 30 grams arriving faster from a freckled banana, or slower from a firm one, lands on a different part of the curve. For anybody matching a dose to a meal, that's a real thing. Nobody should change a dose over a banana. Raise it the next time you're in, or at the pharmacy counter, because whoever wrote the prescription is the one who can say whether it matters for you. Tonight, 1 piece of fruit. 10 foods, and only one of them needs anything from you tonight. On your last trip through the kitchen this evening, look in the fruit bowl and find the ripest piece in it. The banana, with the most freckles, the mango gone soft at the stem, the papaya nobody has cut. Take that 1 piece out and put it in the refrigerator. That's the whole job. Nothing gets thrown away, nothing gets bought, and you're not eating less of anything. You're choosing which day you eat it on. The peel may go dark overnight, especially on a banana, and that darkening is the skin rather than the flesh. Do it with the ripest piece and not a firm green one, because cold will stop a green banana ripening properly at all. And I'll be straight about the size of it. Nobody has measured what stopping the clock a day early is worth to your blood sugar. What the cold does is hold the fruit where it is, and on this list, that's the only lever that costs nothing. 1 piece, 1 shelf, tonight. The other 9 can wait. A lot of you have already run this experiment by accident, so here's the question. If you've ever put a banana in the refrigerator and found something black in there the next morning, what happened when you opened it? Was the inside actually ruined, or did it only look that way? Put what you found underneath this video, because plenty of people have thrown one away over a peel. The free action guide has all 10 on one sheet, each with the stage to look for and the grams beside it, small enough for the front of a refrigerator. There's a link below this video, and the pinned comment has it too. After this one, fiber, and how much of it actually does something, since overripe fruit turns out to be quietly losing the very thing that was holding its sugar back. Subscribe, and it'll be waiting for you.